So, this is my new format. This is podcast number 1 in a series. And this video is about why you will never get your avoidant ex back. And so, let me just start out by saying, I know that's going to hurt a lot of people to hear this, but let me explain so you're not triggered. What I mean by this is, when you first started dating your avoidant ex, and this is the part that a lot of people get stuck on, and that is that they cling on to the person that the avoidant showed up as in the beginning. And the reason why they showed up so emotionally available and so amazing and intoxicating was because you, being anxious, you seek out people who are emotionally unavailable. Now you're going to say, well, Coach Chris, they were emotionally available in the beginning. And I beg to differ because they were always the way that they were. It's just they had not been triggered yet. You hadn't gotten close enough. And they have this negative tape in their mind that plays. It's programming is what I would refer to it as. And that is basically I'm not good at relationships. Eventually this relationship will end. Eventually things will go wrong. And so in order to keep myself safe, I've got to distance myself before they get too close and I get hurt. Now, that said, the other thing that they tend to think and believe is that, if it was the right person, I wouldn't have any conflict. I wouldn't feel any negative feelings ever. It would always be good, and I am only responsible for my feelings, and they're responsible for theirs, and we can meet in the middle sometimes when it's convenient for me, but they should never have to rely on me, and I should never be able to rely on them. But we'll meet in the middle, and things will always be good because they're not reliant on me to be okay, and vice versa. And if you're any kind of healthy, you know better than that. You know that there's no such thing as a conflict-free relationship. That is living in fantasy land. And so you're already seeing how they can set themselves up for failure because there is no such relationship. And so part of the paradigm for them is well, if they were the right person, I wouldn't feel like this. And so I'm going to go find somebody who will, have a better relationship, better being perfect, right? Meaning no accountability, no vulnerability, no leaning on them for emotional support, no need to understand what they're going through because that means you're being vulnerable with them and they don't like to share their own vulnerability, so they can't deal with yours, right? You always show up as firm, secure. You always show up as having the answer and having the solution, and they don't need to go any deeper than surface level. That is what they view as what they're quote unquote looking for, right? So you can see how when in relation to getting your ex back, if that's what you're trying to do, the person that you met initially, that wasn't the real person. So, excuse me. So, in essence, if you're trying to get your avoidant ex back and that's your goal, that's a fatal flaw that you have because that person never existed. Therefore, you will never get that version of them back because that version of them was not the real version of them. Now, I'm not saying that they weren't, elements of that, but that wasn't the total version of them, right? And until they do the work, which often they don't, you're not going to be able to connect with them in a healthy way. The other thing is in order for you to not only get them back, but for you to keep them and for them to be kept, they would have had to do and have done the work. And I'm not saying avoidants can't do the work. They do the work because I've coached some of them. But on average, most avoidants believe that the way that they are is proper. The way that they show up is the way that you need to be in order to quote unquote stay safe. And we all know that that's not a healthy paradigm. So I hope this helps give you some clarity and some insight. And I will see you guys on the next video. If you are struggling with this and you really need help one-on-one, you can book a call. Link is in the profile, and I will see you guys on the next video.